Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. When you think about Niantic, you think about Pokemon Go. At a higher level, though, you think about maps and games. Today, I'd like to talk to you about some big new additions to our maps and how you can build on them. So maps form the basis for spatial computing. And as you just heard, there have been some large advances in spatial computing since I talked to you here last year. These recent advances require an even more advanced map. And I want to talk today about why we are qualified to build that map. So first, a little bit of history. Always have to have a history slide. So my history actually goes much farther back than this. I worked at Silicon Graphics in the 90s, working on virtual reality, and the project's called Disney Quest, which is probably before your time. But I helped found Keyhole along with John Henke in 2001, and we built this global satellite image reviewer that was acquired by Google in 2004, and it became Google Earth. And John and I and many others on the team led Google Earth, Google Maps, Street View, Local Search. We also bought SketchUp and then eventually sold it to Trimble there, and Trimble's done a good job carrying it forward. We're happy about that. I left Google in 2015 and joined Uber and helped build Uber's maps. But John stayed at Google and started this new thing called Niantic Labs inside Google, building location-based experiences like Ingress and Field Trip. In 2015, he managed to spin that company out of Google, which was really hard, and get it as a standalone company. In 2016, he launched Pokemon Go, and the rest of that is pretty much history. But as you can see, maps have been core to our mission the entire time, both before and after we launched Pokemon Go. So what do we mean by maps? Well, traditionally, there are two components. The locations, known as wayspots that you see in Pokemon Go, are as Pokestops and gyms. And our Pokemon Go and Ingress players actually submit them, and they curate them, and they add these interesting non-business locations to the map that help us have a gameplay that crosses many, many geographies. The second part is our visual positioning system of 3D models that we build, because our Pokemon Go and Ingress players create these scans, these videos that record everything about the 3D world around them, and they upload it to our system. They submit it to us. We get hundreds of millions of these, and we've built some very interesting things. So within the games, you can see these come out as encompassing both location AR and visual AR. So Pokemon Go blends both, using maps to help locate players in the real world and show them where Pokestops are. And the Pokemon Go AR Snapshot feature was updated earlier this year to take a greatly improved player experience with placing and photographing Pokemon. Peridot continues to be the preeminent, fully visual AR-based game, with a character that not only understands the physical world around it, but the semantic meaning of the objects and is able to react to them. And all of the game, the entire game, is played through the virtual window into this augmented reality world. And finally, we offer for developers the tools to leverage both location and visual AR through our APIs. So, the visual positioning system. So many of you have heard of it. Some of you hopefully used it. What does it do for you? It allows you to anchor content in the real world very precisely. So if you can localize a user, and they take their camera out, they aim it at one of these 400,000 locations, once they're localized, any content that's been placed and created in that location is exactly in the right place. And this is very important because for experience to work, you can't have more than a few centimeters of error, and ours is the most accurate in the world. We're on track to expand this from 400,000 locations to 1 million locations this year. In some ways, we call this the invisible map. It is a map, but it's used to locate you and not to draw things. Now I'm going to talk about the visual map. So I said spatial computing needs a new map, but what do we mean when we say spatial computing? For Niantic, there are 3 pillars that are core to spatial computing: capture, create, and play. For capture, scanning the world and collecting the data that helps us reconstruct it. Create is to author the content for these locations in both AR and VR on the spatial map. And then play are the users who actually get to explore the locations or interact with the creations that you, the developer, have put in front of them. So we have, hopefully, good solutions for all 3. So I'd like to go into a little bit of history and depth here. We're very excited about the introduction of Gaussian splatting technology last year. SIGGRAPH paper really sort of ignited things in much the way that GenAI has ignited other areas. This changed, I think, how many people think about 3D graphics. And if you look at this on the left, this is what we were reconstructing in 3D. Textured meshes, they're very accurate, and we're able to rebuild them from our scans. That same data put into a Gaussian splat produces a radically better experience, fundamentally better visually, more accurate. What a difference a single year makes. So I've been working in 3D graphics for 38 years now. And I don't think I've seen anything this transformative since Silicon Graphics, the company I worked for, introduced real-time texture mapping in 1991. One of the most shocking differences for me can be found in trees. They look like broccoli at best in Google Earth. And now they're amazingly realistic. The detail and the Z-buffer accuracy is radically improved. I mean, you can actually drop content in here and it looks like that content's part of the real world. So we have seen 350,000 splats created from our old data and also from some new data that I'm about to talk about. So this is a very big announcement for me. Now, how many of you have ever installed Scaniverse and given it a try? A decent amount. I'm going to change that because today we're announcing Scaniverse 4 from Niantic. And this is a huge deal for us. It's a huge update, and it has a lot of new powers. So first of all, it has even better Gaussian splatting than we launched a few months ago. So it leverages on-device Gaussian splat processing. The new map feature puts user-generated scans directly on the map where they are created. And this is the best app for creating 3D scans, and it now supports entirely new ways of putting them in and exploring them, as I'll show you. And finally, I think we're going to see users explore the world and visit places that they've never been, just like they did in Google Earth, but now with a fidelity that you have never seen before. So what are the features of this app? Well, it has the fastest Gaussian splat creation, full stop. Now, there are other people out there, but you upload it to the cloud, it takes 10 to 30 to 60 minutes to get the data back. You're able to collect the scan and then process the data in under a minute. And if the scan looks great, you're done. You can move on and go to your next location, collect your next set of data. But if you don't like it, you can now collect more data. This wasn't possible. Think about it as a Polaroid for 3D. So this is the first thing. It's the fastest Gaussian splat creation. The second, we've added a map. Not surprisingly, based on my background, we think maps are important, and now I'd like you to understand why. The ability to navigate these Gaussian splats in the real world, mapped to the location where they were collected and created, and allowing you to browse them geospatially, I think is really powerful. And I think we've already added 100,000 locations that were created from those Pokemon Go scans and made into models. So the map is preceded with some, but all of those white scans you see are already splats created by, at the moment, employees. But as of this morning, you can download that app yourself. Finally, we have a discovery feed. So we have the best of splats. So we're going to helpfully surface to you, much like in TikTok, you can flip up and flip through these and decide which ones look really cool to you. And then you can go visit them in the map. You can heart them, like them, share them. And we think that this is going to be another mode of social media sharing and another content type. And it's different. It's more powerful and more complete than any of the other sort of stereo photos and 3D depth photos that you might have seen. So today we're launching Niantic Scaniverse 4. And for users, it allows them to build and share a world in 3D, explore the locations around them, and add their locations to the map. We also have a Scaniverse community we've just launched at community.scaniverse.com. I know from experience that people love to talk about places they found, places they've been, and we think this will be a great way for people to share their experiences to other Scaniverse power users. But for developers, there's even more power. We already have, as I said, hundreds of millions of scans that have built hundreds of thousands of locations, and all of this, plus the scans that we're now getting from Scaniverse, are going to be available to developers to use in their applications. You'll be able to build content around it, build experiences around it, and even build games around the map. So Scaniverse allows exporting splats as files or directly into some of our other developer tools. So for those of you who don't have it yet, please grab this QR code. I'll show it one more time a bit later, and update your Scaniverse to 4. Okay, so now you've got all these great new locations and mapped data. What can you do with it? So we have built a tool that some of you are familiar with. It's based on Eighth Wall, but at AWE in Long Beach, we announced Niantic Studio in public beta. And Eighth Wall's been synonymous with WebAR, and is a premier development platform for creating augmented reality on the web. And we launched this beta, and it has many new features. So what is it? Niantic Studio is 2 things. First, it's a visual editor and a major evolution of the Eighth Wall code editor. It enables a truly visual editing experience that makes everything you create accessible and visible in real time. It offers progressive complexity that enables you to build immersive experiences easily and quickly while continuing to offer professional quality tools and customization that you expect from Niantic Eighth Wall. Second, Studio is also a web gaming engine. It's built on a familiar entity component system in ECS and provides a powerful runtime environment that can manage thousands of game objects simultaneously. What I'm most excited about is that beginning today, launched last night, Niantic Studio supports splats developed, created in Scaniverse. Here you'll see a user, one of our superpower employees, Ian, capturing and editing a splat of a real-world location in Scaniverse. He exports that splat into Niantic Studio, and he starts to author content in Niantic Studio that's on top of the splat of the location. Once he's happy with what it said, he publishes it in Niantic Studio, and he can load in augmented reality the same location, but now placed in the real world and looking just like he saw in his development system. So now you have a kind of content that can play 2 ways. It can play in the real world in augmented reality, or it can play in 3D in a splat in virtual reality, or on a mobile app, or on the web on your desktop. All possible with the same development system, Niantic Studio. Here are some other early examples of what you can build today. This is ideal for game development, educational experiences, and more. You can build on top of splats with plane colliders, with physics, and the gaming engine in Studio to turn splats into a backdrop for any real-world VR encounters. So all in real-time visual editing is quick and easily shareable across the web. And for those of you who haven't used Eighth Wall, it's pretty magical. When you make edits, they are available instantaneously. There's no compile and build, there's no huge delays. You can quickly see your changes reflected in the real world, or in the augmented world, or in the virtual world. It's an amazingly powerful tool. We have thousands of these AR experiences that were already built on Eighth Wall, and we expect Niantic Studio to enable both content creators and developers to create hundreds of thousands of new experiences. Most importantly, Niantic Studio is free to use and is available today on eighthwall.com. So if you haven't tried it, you should also give that a try. So one of the other big advantages of Studio and Eighth Wall is that the content you publish can be published across devices, including AVP and MetaQuest 3, which we really love those MR devices that let us give an AR experience while being indoors. It's been really great for development. We're very excited about both of them. This is just the start of making real-world locations the backbone of spatial experiences. So last year at AWE here on stage, I described something kind of a possibility, a theory. I hand-waved my way to what was possible. But just from Mark's presentation about the Meta Enterprise, this is an enterprise use case that does something a bit more than everything you saw in Mark's presentation, because it combines virtual reality and augmented reality, so 2 users can simultaneously share an experience where one is virtually visiting it in a splat that was collected with Scaniverse, and the other is experiencing by standing in the real world, and they're talking about an object that they can both see and place precisely at that location. So from an enterprise perspective, you can think about all sorts of powerful tools you can build with this, but I can also imagine that for content creation and for game development, there's some amazing things you could build with it as well. So we're very happy to see Meta for Business and MetaQuest for Business, and I think there's a lot of power in bringing these headsets into enterprise opportunities. Also, In local news, we're announcing a project with the Singapore Tourism Board to bring Niantic map technology to headsets here in Singapore. There's going to be a pilot coming soon that shows off some of Singapore's key tourism attractions, and I think you'll really like it when you actually get to try it. So, I started out by declaring spatial computing needs a new map, and Niantic is building it. I showed you the updates to Scaniverse and how you can build with Niantic Studio. Our mission is to get people outside using devices, but we think there's a very interesting set of experiences where people share location experience across devices. Now, this goes beyond mobile devices and includes mixed reality headsets. This is why we've been investing in building the Niantic map. Spatial computing devices will eventually go outdoors, and that crossover point that was shown in the slide earlier is going to happen. And these true AR glasses will need an incredibly accurate 3D map of the world. This is backbone infrastructure that will enable any outdoor wearable to display spatial content in ways that understands and meaningfully engages with the world around you. With Scaniverse, you can capture any place in the world and add it to the map. With Niantic Studio, you can create and build entirely new experiences connected to a location. And you'll be able to connect the same location with different devices remotely. So, at Niantic, our mission is larger. We want to build a map that everyone can use. We think this is the start of a new era, and we want to build this new spatial map. We're grateful to the many developers and businesses that we're already working with. And also at 2:55 p.m. today, Min-Si Lo will be going into much more detail about Scaniverse on Substage 2, which, by the way, is right next to the Niantic booth, which I think everybody should go visit. We welcome all of you to try our tools and help us build the spatial map together, because we still believe that XR is for everyone, everywhere, all at once. Thank you.